No,
Hey, what is up guys? It is TJ over here at Clifford Studio, and today I'm doing something a little different here. Now originally, I was debating on not even posting this piece, but then after working on it for a while, I realized I really could share some important things that I learned here along the way, and I really want to be able to help some of you guys in case you run into a situation that's similar to this. Alright, now a little bit of backstory. When I started this piece, it was when Black Panther originally released. As you guys know on my channel, I originally posted a piece beforehand where I did the old suit back from Civil War. This was pre-launch of the movie here in the United States. I did that piece for me to kind of get ready for the movie itself. And then after watching the movie, I just fell in love with those suits, both the Black Panther and Golden Jaguar, and I just knew I had to do another painting. Now, when I was originally drawing them out, I was pretty happy with the composition, but I realized things weren't going the way I intended them to from the beginning. Now, for those of you that are artists, we all know this is pretty common, but while I was pretty happy with how I painted the Black Panther, I just couldn't figure out the Golden Jaguar's suit. So now why am I even posting this video? Well, after talking with some of you guys who are fellow artists down in the comments, and then as well as on Instagram and Twitter, I realized a lot of us have been struggling with the same thing when it comes to producing work that stands up to our own expectations. And this can be a huge issue in the art community, so I really want to share my experience. My main goal with this video is to show my struggles and show how I was able to save this piece in the end after I was debating on throwing it out and moving on. Now, it's important to remember that when creating art, in my opinion, don't hold yourself to some high standard that you put on yourself. Now, I'm not saying don't have any goals or objectives because these are extremely important, especially when you're working for a client. But when you're working for yourself and it's a personal piece, make sure that you're staying open to new and unexpected possibilities. I'll even say some of my best work comes from when I'm just enjoying the process for what it is instead of trying to force something and control every aspect, which I know as artists we do because we take our art so seriously and it's part of us. We're passionate about that. We want it to turn out exactly how we see it in our head. And truth be told, when you're just enjoying it for what it is and you're open to those new possibilities, the art will form itself and you'll be much happier in the end because of it. But like I said, when you're working for a client or a company, this becomes a lot more difficult. However, just keep these practices in mind because they could really help you along the way from time to time. So now going back to the actual time lapse itself, let me explain how I was able to save this piece after all. When I finished the Black Panther and moved on to Eric Killmonger, I was feeling pretty good about this piece. However, like I mentioned previously in this video, I ran into some pretty big issues regarding the line work and then the overall rendering of his helmet. Now, as I was reworking this piece, I started to realize that I was spending way too much time on it, and that I really didn't feel like I was making any headway. Now, I was debating on just giving up and moving on to another project, which I'm sure a ton of us do, and it was definitely an option for me. But I really enjoyed how I rendered the Black Panther's helmet, and I just couldn't bear giving it up. So instead, I decided to take a breather, come back to it, and play around with some cropping in an effort to ultimately save this piece by bringing a new light into it. By adjusting and resizing him, I was able to create a whole new composition which brought new life into this piece and honestly made me excited to continue working on it. We all know that as a piece drags on and on and on, you start to realize that you just don't have the love that you had for it when you started because every turn you're just running into another issue. This is a real tactic. Take a break, go play some video games, maybe watch a movie, come back to it the next day if you have the time. Look at it with a fresh perspective and see what you can do. You'd be amazed on the outcome you could come up with. Now, why do I believe this is so important? As an artist, the creative process will always be difficult at times, and it'll seem to even work against you. You'll constantly be wondering if you're making the right decisions and if you're doing things right, but what's most important is that you're continuing to practice and get better, and I cannot stress that enough. When you get stuck on a piece, taking a break, looking at it, like I said, with a fresh pair of eyes can be a great way to turn your piece around and save it. Now, I wanted to touch on what I said before with having high expectations for yourself. I think it's very important to push through your struggles whenever possible. Something that I always think with my art is that it can always be better, and honestly, I'm not even happy with a lot of my paintings when I finish them. Now, at first, I thought this was just me and that I needed to keep pushing and getting better. But what I found out by studying other artists and talking to them is that this is actually a common outlook for a lot of artists. It's healthy to know that you can do better, but at the same time, you need to sit and realize exactly what you learned from this piece. Because even when you screw up and you mess up and you don't have the piece come out exactly how you wanted it to, there's a ton of lessons you can learn from that. In fact, there are a lot of artists that I follow that have this same viewpoint. And two artists that I'd like to mention particularly who share this viewpoint are Trent Kanuga and Peter McKinnon. Now, for those of you that know both of them, you know that they're completely opposite when it comes to the art they do. One is a concept artist and digital painter, and one of them is a filmmaker and a photographer. Now, they both make YouTube videos, but the real similarity through both of these artists is that they both struggle with being happy with their finished outcome. In their videos, multiple times they've mentioned how they're not happy with their outcome of the pieces they create. And as someone like me who watches them and is inspired and motivated and just determined because it's, their work just awes me, to hear that they aren't really impressed with their own work, I kind of think the same thing with me. Now, I know I'm not on the level that they are, but if I'm having the same feelings that they are, maybe my art isn't as bad as I think it is. The real message I want to leave you guys with is just remember, if you can get anything out of this and you're still around listening to me share my thoughts and experience, keep pushing through your creative process, even when it seems to be working against you, and eventually you'll figure something out and gain something from it in the end. That's all I've got for you guys. I really hope you enjoyed this. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want to see more videos like this, go ahead and hit subscribe and even start a conversation with me down in the comments. I love talking with all of you and I try to message back to every single one of you. Additionally, for those of you guys who enjoyed it, go ahead, please leave that like, maybe even share it. It really helps me out. And as always, if you want to follow me on my other social media to stay up to date with me as I'm posting live, go ahead and check out my other social media. I linked it down in the description as well as at the end of this video. As always, guys, this has been TJ from Clifford Studio. Take care.